Hello Mike, here are your carburetors and they've turned out very nicely. I'm going to go over a few things before we do an actual start and test on them for you. First of all, we're going to check our carburetor numbers, 44211, hopefully you can see that, and then over here 44212, yeah, 44212 down there. Hopefully you can see that down there. Let's go over a few things. Let's see. Idle mixture screws. The idle mixture screw on the second barrel is a dummy. No need to play with it. You'll only be adjusting these if you ever have to do any adjustment. All of our surfaces have been machined. We've got new bushings, throttle shafts, butterflies, all new factory gaskets, which you can tell by the red color. Helicoils as need be. I'll put the airlock studs in afterwards. A few things to consider when installing carburetors. You're always going to use 2 wrenches when you are dealing with the fuel line to the carburetors themselves. What you want to do is use a wrench here to stabilize this fitting, and then you'll also obviously do all your twisting on here. You do not want to allow these fittings here to twist while you're attaching this fuel line. Another thing that will be very helpful is when you install the carburetors, install them loosely so that you can actually physically pick the carburetors. You'll move them up and down like about 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch. Wiggle your airlock into position, then go in and tighten up the a couple, 3, 4 of the bolts holding the carburetors in place. Pull your airlock off and then get in underneath here and tighten up the rest of the fittings. Because it is possible to tighten these things with them just sitting there, and the airlock will not fit because the carburetors can move up and down and a little bit get diagonally against each other. You will have the carburetors totally adjusted for you. The only thing you'll be responsible for is your throttle linkage, and all the throttle linkages up to this point are set in stone, and this is the only one that you will need to adjust essentially, and that's on a turnbuckle. And these are very precise adjustments, so just take your time, get that set up properly. And the other adjustments you can make here are these set screws for your choke linkage, and these what move the choke linkage in and up and down, so they will align with the choke cable coming down. Remember, check the choke cable before you hook it up to your carburetors, and pull the choke cable. Make sure it moves smoothly, and if need be, dribble some oil down into the casing, because this is a real goofy choke system on these cars. As you know, the choke cable comes down from this top, attaches to the airlock, then the choke cable itself attaches to the chokes here, and then these chokes are wanting to come up in an arc while the cable is going straight up and down. So when you hook everything up, it's a pretty good bind on it, so make sure everything is well lubed before you attach everything. Let's see, we're going to do a cold start here. Give you the ambient temperature on the carburetors, 61 degrees. Now these carburetors you can't do much with them until they warm up. We can't do much with them in terms of tuning them until they warm up. So that's what we're going to do. We will warm up the carburetors, and I want to show you how they work in a cold start situation. Be sure to, before you start your car, if it's been sitting for a long time, as you well know, to prime the fuel system with the priming lever, and you'll learn how the carburetors. You've already got some working now or operating now, so you're well familiar with the choke situation and how the carburetors start. So let's see if we can't see how these work. Now that's not bad for cold carburetors. I'm slowly letting off on the choke. Check that out. Now notice when I'm operating the choke lever, I'm actually also operating the throttle linkage right here. See if I get that on camera. Right here, we're operating the throttle link. We move the throttle. Notice it's how it moves. So at the same time you're choking it, you're also physically opening up the throttle. And that's where your idle increase comes from. So as you're driving, obviously you'll have the choke out to whatever position depends on the ambient. You may not even need the choke at 70 or 80 degree ambient temperature. And as you modulate the choke cable in and out so the car warms up, you'll finally be able to release the choke like that. And seriously, these are really nice carburetors. Just the machine work is just amazing. I would like to take some credit for the outcome, but boy, the machine work makes it. So we got to get these warmed up before we can play tune up. So we'll accelerate the warm up. What we're doing is waiting for the thermostat open. You'll be able to see that in a minute here. Okay, thermostat just opened. You saw it went up to 116, back down to about 150. Now we can tune carburetors. Obviously I've already tuned these, but I'm going to show you how to do it. First thing we're going to do is you're going to disconnect your throttle linkage so that you have both of these carburetors running independently of each other, and make sure the throttle linkage is not affecting how things operate. You're next going to want, and obviously you want to make sure this throttle linkage, this throttle does not open up and cause your carburetors to go over speed or anything. You're going to want to synchronize the airflow through the carburetors, but you're also going to want to make sure there's no airflow through the second barrels, because these carburetors, as you well know, idle on the first barrel. So let's check our airflow, and anything below 2 on this scale is gravy, because the factory tolerances would give you would yield a reading of around 2. As you can see, we're at 1 here on this carburetor, and that one barely even moved, again around 1. So now we're going to check our airflow. Obviously I've already tuned these, so the airflow should be fairly close, and we are, where is it? There it is. We're at 4 on this carburetor, and a little bit above 4 on this carburetor. So we are going to adjust these to where they have the same airflow, and I'm going to increase this one because the idle is actually a little on the low side. Alright, so we're going to bump this one up to about 4 and a smidge. What we got over here? 4 and a smidge. Alright. Now that gives us an idle. It's a decent idle. We're at 600. This is a little bit on the low side, but we're going to play with the idle in a little bit. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to adjust our idle mixture screw. I'm going to take it off this tripod. So what we do with the idle mixture screw is you screw it in or out until the idle drops, starts to degrade, and then you screw it back in or out until you get the smooth idle. So we're going to try by going in first. Doesn't take much. Here it starts to degrade. I'll even make it worse. Well, that was too worse. Did not want to do that. They are very sensitive now they've had all this machine work done. Alright, so obviously you screwed in too far, things don't go well. So now we're going to screw it out. You hear it start to degrade, and you see the engine. Alright, now we're going to screw it back in. Get our best running. Pick up some RPM. Now what I'm doing, what I like to do, is I use an analog tachometer, and now we're reading right around, the 600 is the scale that we're reading on. I'm sorry, I didn't do that right. Okay, this is our RPM. This is the scale we're reading on right here. So what I'm doing is adjusting these carburetors to get the max RPM. Yeah, alright, you see the difference? Picking up RPM as we get the adjusting screw where it's supposed to be. And you also hear it. So there we go, we picked up our max RPM, and we do that with both screws. See, wrong way there, so we're going to back off to get our max RPM. Picked up some RPM right there. Alright, that's where we're going to leave it right there. So, we've got our airflow synchronized. We've got our idle mixture screws synchronized, adjusted properly. Next thing we're going to do is snap on our throttle linkage, adjust our throttle linkage, and snap it in place so that nothing changes. That's all we need to accomplish. Nothing's going to change. All right. Alright, just for fun, well, let's see. This is running about 600 RPM idle, which is actually a little on the low side, but I just want to show you how low it can go. And we are going to bump you up to about 750 or so, which is where it should be, according to the factory. And I'll show you how easy it is to do. Am I running out of gasoline? Alright, so we're going to adjust the idle up. A quarter turn there, quarter turn there. Alright, idled about that's about 650, 700. Alright, so now we're at about 700 on the attack. And we've got indicated 5.5, almost 6 there. 5.5, almost 6 there. Just our linkage back on. And another thing I'm very proud of is the fact that these are dry underneath here. I've been letting them sit with fuel in them for several days, and these are dry underneath here, which is really nice. It's very hard to accomplish, and when I mean dry, it's under where the main jets are, underneath here, and the accelerator pump bodies. Very hard to do that. Very hard to keep those things dry. Now we'll try a hot start. Alright. Got an indicated 700 RPM. I think these are some really nice carburetors. I think you'll be very pleased with them. I know I am. Very nice carburetors. Anyway, thank you very much for your patience.